If you're looking to learn how to sight in your bow for the first time, maybe you're brand new to archery, you came to the right spot. So we're gonna dive in today, showing you how to get your bow sighted in. So if you picked up a bow package like this Sanlita Dragon X, then it probably came with a sight like this. Just about every budget bow, or just about any hunting bow, will come with a sight like this. It's a multi-pin sight. So we're gonna go through today showing you how to get this thing sighted in. So let's dive into it right now. Like and subscribe. Let's get into it. So the first thing up we're going to talk about is the target. So you can see the target. I have a vertical piece of tape and a horizontal piece of tape. That's going to help us get this thing sighted in as far as left to right and up and down. And it's going to give you some more reference marks. So I suggest setting it up this way, but you don't have to. I mean, you can see how the bail has a dot on it. I mean, you can, sight your bow in however you want, but this for beginners is a little bit easier to get it dialed in. So suggest setting your target up like this. Next thing that you want to have is some type of Allen wrench or whatever tool matches your bow sight. That way you can go through and make adjustments on your sight without having to run back and forth to the vehicle. Always have this on you, that way you can make quick adjustments. So this right here is our bow sight, and I want to talk a little bit about the mechanics of getting this dialed in. So you have your sight housing, which is this piece right here, and it can be adjusted up and down. And this sight does have little hash marks, which also makes it a little bit easier to get it dialed in. And it has hash marks going left to right, so you can also adjust it left to right. When I talk about the pins, these are the individual pins. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and make sure that we have, I like to have my pin set pretty much in the middle, but if you're shooting a slower bow, you might want to have your pins towards the top starting out. That way you can just set your housing to where it needs to be. But we're going to go through, we're going to leave that 20-yard pin. I like to have my first pin for 20 yards, 30, 40, 50, and so on. But that is going to be the basis of it. So we're going to go ahead and get our first top pin here sighted in at 20, but we're going to go ahead and shoot a little bit closer at first. That way we don't end up busting an arrow. Let's say we have this thing way off. You pulled this out of the box for the first time, you have it way off. You don't want to shoot too low and end up busting an arrow, or shooting too high and busting an arrow. So we're going to go ahead and move up a little bit closer, maybe to about 10 yards, and make our first shot. Another thing I want to mention before we even get into this is you want to start with a tuned up bow. So if you don't know how to tune your bow, let's say you just bought one of these bow kits off Amazon and you're just doing all this from your house, then you want to watch some videos on how to get your bow properly tuned up. That way it's actually shooting the arrows consistently and accurately just out of the bow, making sure the bow itself is performing right. And that's before you throw your skill into the mix. You could also take it to a bow shop. I do strongly suggest that if you're a first timer, just making sure that they're setting it up properly, and it's going to save you a lot of headache in the future by having this thing set up the way it needs to be. Another tip for getting your bow set up, if you're just doing this from home, is one thing I like to do is start out, I put an arrow on it and I look down the string. So you're not gonna be able to see it perfectly here, but if you look down the string, I want to have my arrow, string, and the sight, the little pins there, all lined up in a straight line. That's going to make sure that you get started on the right foot. So you get all those lined up, that's going to get you a good baseline before you even start shooting arrows. So what we're going to do now is shoot a grouping, and what a grouping is where we're going to shoot multiple arrows and we're aiming dead center for all of them. So that means if your arrow shoots wherever, don't compensate for where it goes. Keep aiming in the same place. That way you can see if all your arrows are going to hit in the same spot. That way we can move and adjust based on that grouping to where it needs to be zeroed at. All right, so that's 3 pretty much in a really good group. We'll shoot one more. All right, we pulled that one a little bit, but it's pretty much in line with the other ones. Let's go check these out. You can see we're about 3 inches high and pretty much good as far as left to right. So I'm just gonna tell you how to do the left to right thing. So let's say for this one, let's say this is where all the arrows were hitting, to the left. What you want to do to start out with, you're going to move your housing to the left just a little bit. So with archery, what you want to do is you're going to chase your arrow with your sight to correct wherever the movement is. So in this case, if we were going to go with this group, with it way left, you move your sight housing to the left, and that's going to bring it back to center line. So I don't think with our group being like this, I'm not going to really mess with it too much. We're going to shoot another round, and we're going to show you how to adjust our group down to where it needs to be. So our grouping was about 3 inches high. So what we want to do is we're not going to move any of the pins, but we are going to move our sight housing, and it was high. So we're going to move our sight housing up. So we're chasing the arrows with the sight housing. So we're going to move it up. Now, if we were shooting low, we would move our sight housing down. And I only want to move it just a little bit. And you're going to have to play around with that based on the speed of your bow, different things is going to determine how much you actually need to move it. But we're just going to move it just a little bit. We're going to shoot another group right now and see if that corrected it. Let's go check them out real quick. But there we go. They're pretty much all around the center there, so we're not going to worry about shooting another group. We're going to call this one pretty good and bring it back to 30. So at 30, hopefully all we have to do is move the pin just a little bit. So right there, 20 yards, sighted in. So right now we're going to go ahead and shoot a group at 30 yards, and we're going to keep doing the same thing for as many pins as you need to. But I'm just going to go ahead and sight in my 30-yard pin, which is going to be my second pin down. So this first orange one right here. So we're going to go ahead. I haven't moved that at all. This is kind of where it's been from the factory. But we're going to see where it's at, and if we need to adjust the pin, we'll individually adjust the pin because we got our sight housing all where we need it to be. So now we'll just adjust the pin itself. So you'll do the same thing for all your remaining pins as well, but leave your 20-yard pin because we've already got that thing sighted in. So let's go ahead and get some arrows slinging down there at 30. All right, not too bad. I think we're just a little bit high. Yeah, that one was a little high too. All right, not a bad shot. Now keep in mind, guys, we're still aiming for the same spot every single time. We're not compensating. All right, I think we'll push that one a little bit to the right. Let's go check these out. All right, so there's our grouping. You can see I'm about a 3-inch group here, and it's a little high. So what we're gonna do is move our individual 30-yard pin up to compensate for it shooting high right now. So we'll go ahead and get these pulled out, and we'll get back there and I'll show you how to adjust it. So we saw that we were shooting about 3 inches high. So what we're gonna do is move our individual 30-yard pin. So we're gonna have to figure out what Allen's key size fits that. All right. So I think this is our 30. All right, so moving the individual 30-yard pin, which is right here, we're gonna move that down. Or sorry, we're moving it up. We were missing a little bit high, so we're gonna have to move that one up. And I really can't move it too much because it's pretty much where my 20-yard is. So surprisingly enough, for a very budget bow, this Sanlita Dragon X9 shoots pretty fast. I mean, right there, honestly, I could probably shoot it with my 20-yard pin and be on the money. So it didn't drop too much. So we're gonna shoot another group right now. There we go, that one's dead center. All right, I think that one dropped just a little bit. There we go. I think we're pretty good. Let's go show them to you. Here we are with our group. That group's probably better than our 20-yard group. But I would call this good enough. especially for that budget bow. So there you go, that's how you sight it in. So I just wanted to break it down one more time, just in case you were a little confused. If you're new to archery, I want to clarify it one more time, kind of how to adjust your sights to match where your arrow's hitting. So let's say your arrow hit way up here. Then what you'd want to do is, if we're at our 30, you're just going to move your pin up to counter where this is hitting, because when you move your pin up, it's going to have it correct down. Let's say you were hitting down here. Then you would move your pin down to compensate for it hitting low. That's going to pull it up. Let's say you're hitting left to right. All of that is going to have to be adjusted with your sight housing, unless you have individual pins you can pull in and out. But most budget sights don't have that. So if you're hitting left, then what you're going to want to do is move your sight housing left. Same thing right. If you're hitting right, you're going to move your sight housing right, and that's going to correct it back to the center. So hopefully it's clear as mud now, and you guys can get out there and start getting your bow sighted in. All right, guys, so that's how you go through and get your multi-pin sight sighted in. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, put those in the comment box below. And hopefully this gets you guys started on the right foot, getting out there, getting your bow sighted in, because I know as a kid, it used to be a pain in the butt trying to get this thing sighted in. I didn't really know what I was doing. It was just trial by error. So I finally figured it out, and hopefully this video right here helps you figure it out sooner than later, so you don't have to struggle with that. Also, place some video suggestions in the comment box below on different archery videos or whatever kind of videos y'all want to see, because you know my platform is kind of just all over the place right now. But like I've been saying in other videos, we're moving to Alaska in 1 month, and we're going to be hunting and fishing, doing all kinds of stuff up there, kind of adventuring out, trying to explore and stuff. So video suggestions are wanted, so I'd like to have those. Guys, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. See you in future videos.